2, 1.
April 1st, 1945 began the largest land-sea-air battle in history. Over 250,000 people lost their lives. At least 150,000 of those who perished were civilians. Mama, Mama, Don't Die is a child's story of survival in the midst of unbelievable horrors. To fully understand and appreciate her story, there must first be an attempt to comprehend the horror of the Battle of Okinawa itself. During the first 24 hours of the invasion, the Allies fired 3,800 tons of shells onto the island. On April 6th, massive formations of hundreds of kamikaze planes hurled themselves onto the fleet that day. By the end of the battle, some 1,465 kamikaze pilots would sink 36 American ships and badly damage 164 more. The Battle of Okinawa was the last and bloodiest battle of the Second World War. The men were conscripted. Their families were ordered by the Japanese to move south where the battle was planned to take place. Eventually, mothers, children, and the elderly stood between the two armies. The price paid by the Okinawans was terrifying. At least a third of the civilian population lost their lives. 90% of the survivors lost everything they owned. Many Okinawans committed suicide rather than fall in the hands of the Americans. They had been told that the Americans would rape the women and eat the children. They were scared to death of the barbarians. Mama, Mama, Don't Die is the true heart-wrenching story of an innocent young Okinawan girl whose serene world changed in a moment's time when the first bombs landed outside her home. It's a shocking story of horrors beyond what most of us can even imagine. It's a story everyone needs to read. By the time I read the second chapter, I could not lay the book down until I finished it. My name is Pastor Sam Chess. I met Fumiko born 25 years ago, the year when she, her husband, and her 3 children all met Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. Miko was then dealing with the additional trauma of her separation from a cocaine-addicted husband. I watched as one family member after another gave their lives to Jesus Christ, and I was privileged to see the radical transformation that God's presence brought into each of their lives. I've watched Fumiko's husband Vern change from a cocaine-addicted, foul-mouthed nightclub comedian into a minister of God who oversees our church-sponsored SomebodyCaresForYou.com website, which daily ministers to people around the world. By the time I met Miko, she was a sweet, gentle soul. No one could have imagined, nor did she ever talk about, the horrors that had been her adolescent and teenage life. For years, God slowly healed her of the wounds on the inside until finally she was ready to tell her story to the world. Try to imagine the trauma of watching your family one after another die right in front of you, of hiding in tombs with dead bodies just to survive, of running day and night in terror because you were told that if the American soldiers caught you, they would eat you. These things are just the beginning of years of turmoil recorded in the pages of this short book. It is only the grace of God that layer after layer of deep inner wounding has been transformed into the serene, godly woman that Fumiko Born is today. This book will lead each of us to reevaluate our own lives. It's an eye-opening must-read for teenagers to bring today's self-focused world into perspective. Order your copy of this book today. Buy one for everyone you love.
Halfway around the globe, a young boy is growing up in a cult, an extremely legalistic church and school. Their church handbook was of far more importance than the Bible. Since his entire life was lived within the confined society of the church, his life was miserable. At the age of 15, he was publicly expelled from church during a Sunday morning service and informed by the pastor that he was going to hell. The young boy was me, Vern Bourne. Only by the grace of God and the prayers of a loving mother were they wrong. I knew now that I was going to hell, so I decided that to hell I would go. joined the Army and was shipped to Okinawa. There I met a lovely young lady in a candy store. It was Fumiko Tanahada, the same little girl, now grown up, who cried out to God for help during the war. We were married November 23, 1960. Came back to the States in 1962, where I promptly bought a set of drums and went to work playing in nightclubs. Later I ended up on the keyboard. Miko did Hawaiian and Tahitian dancing and started playing cocktail drums. Over the next few years, we entertained in 26 different states, including Alaska. From 50 below zero weather in Minot, North Dakota, to Biloxi, Mississippi, just in time for Hurricane Camille. We had 3 children, Debbie, Rick, and Stan, all born in different states. Eventually, we settled down in Atlanta, where we stayed for 14 years. Life was good. We owned a beautiful ranch house in the woods. I was a well-known X-rated comedian in Atlanta. However, success turned into self-destruction. For years, I was royally addicted to cocaine. It owned me, and I knew there was nothing I could do about it. The years of cocaine addiction took its toll. I lost my wife, my children, my car, my house. I lost it all. I went from being a popular nightclub comedian to a pathetic broken man sleeping in a tent on the banks of the C-24 canal.
Vern Bourne's spiritual journey is as captivating as any story you will ever read. My name is Pastor Sam Chess. I was privileged to be present over 25 years ago as a young pastor the day Vern and his children came to Christ. I watched the miracle of the reuniting with his wife Miko. I've seen God transform Vern's hopeless addiction into spiritual strength. I've watched the mind that was committed to spreading filth become committed to spreading the truth of God's transforming power. I've heard the voice that used to specialize in obscenities, crying in a passion for those still lost. In 1986, Vern and Miko were instrumental in opening the Victory Children's Home and directed its operation for over 2 years. He now oversees our church-sponsored SomebodyCaresForYou.com website, which since November 1999 daily ministers to people around the world. Hope for the Hopeless, A Passage from Hell. I highly recommend this inspiring book. It will reinforce in every mind that nothing is impossible with God. Order your copy today. Buy one for everyone you know may be struggling with addictions or has any doubts about the existence of a loving God.